Okay. Well, this is the March 22nd Daniel Boone Area School District Transportation Committee meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming. As our first order of business, so let's say the pledge, and then we'll get down to the rest of the stuff. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Potts, if we could start with you and go around the room, please, just to record who's here.
Okay, Mr. Potts.
Harold Bites.
Lauren Small.
Dane Oaks O'Neill.
Carter Kurtz. Rich Martino, member of the public.
And Mike Goldmiller is on the phone.
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
We think you're crazy for taking time out of your vacation to join in, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
I want to stay up on what's going on with the transportation committee.
Very good. All right. So hopefully everybody had time to just look at the agenda briefly. I mean, we made it pretty clear last time, right, that the purpose of this meeting is basically to discuss the draft of the RFP that Mr. Small has provided. Make sure that we have, that we like what's in there. Make sure we don't have anything missing, so forth and so on. And then we'll go from there. So hopefully it shouldn't be too long a meeting tonight. So, Mr. Small, do you want to talk about what's in the?
Okay, what I'd like to put before you tonight, I gave you a copy of the current contract with amendments, as well as a brief PowerPoint on an RFP. Keep in mind, first of all, there are typos in the RFP. This is a draft. Most especially, you'll probably find some things. Believe it or not, there is not a Word document of the transportation contract in existence in the district. Everything's PDF. And trying to incorporate the two, you know what happens. So I went as far as back to the solicitor who crafted it. They don't have it. So it's been a little cumbersome. So what I would like to do tonight is just a broad brush approach and disregard any errors you see, because this is probably scratch before itch. But I wanted to hit some high points within the contract and just for consideration tonight. And if you want to flip, I thought later, if you flip down, I'm not sure what page it is, the first page of the actual RFP, down after the PowerPoint, down at the bottom of that page, the tentative time schedule, it should be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages from the end. After the last page of PowerPoint.
Got it.
Okay, where it says request for proposal, contracted school bus transportation. Down at the bottom, the tentative time schedule. I have listed the mandatory pre-bid meeting for May 19th, 2016 at 1 p.m. here in the admin building. And then Wednesday, June 1st at 11 a.m. for the deadline for the submission of any responses. And then moving forward from there, from June 1st to June 15th, we review. June 15th through June 30th, we contact any vendors for interviews if necessary. And then the first 2 weeks of July, of course, right now there are no board meetings scheduled in July anyway. We do a final review. And then on the 12th of September is when we would actually award the contract. And that'll still give us plenty of time to have the information we need as we begin to prepare the 17-18 budget in October, November. Okay? So that's the timeline that I'm working on. So say all that, say that just a broad brush approach tonight. You can review what I give you tonight, and then next month we can come back again and begin to fine-tune it. The RFP itself, of course, will need to be reviewed by solicitor prior to sending it out. And to a large degree, it's going to include the components within the contract. Some things are simply either school code or law as it relates to requirements for drivers, for instance, and all of the mandatory checks and cogent and all those kinds of things, a lot of the boilerplate. So I'm not going to go into depth on that tonight, but just so you understand, that's going to be the basis as I work with the solicitor on this to include pretty much as an outline what's in the contract. But the reason I gave you the contract so you have a reference rather than trying to look at it on screen to dig into and make any suggestions. So from the top, term of contract. We need to make a decision, obviously, what we want to do there. The current contract originally was the 08-09 year through the 10-11 year, and when it expires at the end of the 16-17 year, it'll be 9 years. My math is correct. So we need to make a decision. The RFP draft that I put together is set up for 5 years. So we can go anywhere you want to go, but just keep in mind how do you want to address the term. Okay? Management of the routes. From what I can gather, years ago, the district had a person in-house that was handling the management of the routes as a transportation clerk, and then during the term of this contract, it moved out and became an employee of one of the vendors, of the contractors. Initially, it was a $25,000 stipend paid to one of the contractors, and this current year, with the adjustments that you will see within the contract, it moved to $30,542. So that's another decision that has to be made. As you RFP, do you want the successful vendor to be the clerk? And along with that, with the management of the routes, what software do you want? And I have information available from at least 5 different software vendors. 3 of them have said that they'd like to come in and demonstrate their software. One of them being BusTrax, our current contractor, to show us the latest and the greatest and what it can do. The other is here in Pottstown. She met with me or spoke with me. She's coming over for a meeting. I spoke with her 2 weeks ago at the conference in Hershey. And the third is out of New York State. They were also at Hershey, and they have been calling me since I've been here in the last nearly 2 years, easily twice a month. And they're eager to come in. They feel theirs is the best. I'm very familiar with their program from up north, but knowing that we had a program in place, I never made a move. But now, as we make a decision, are we going to keep the clerk internal, or do we want to go external? Maybe the time to look at the various softwares that are out there. They're all eager to show us what they can do that's better than the next guy, and I think it's worth looking at.
Just real quick, Lauren. So it's BusTrax, BusBoss, and what's the third one?
TransFinder.
What's the contract like with BusTrax?
Don't ask me why. It renews in November.
Is that one of those automatic renewals?
Yes. It goes under advanced management software, and the annual cost is approximately $4,300 with a renewal date of November. So
Okay, so we could get out.
we could, except during this contract, the current arrangement, they're most familiar with BusTrax.
Right.
So it
Yep.
would be a total learning curve for the transportation clerk if you made a move between now and June 30th and 17th. But in the meantime,
Has that been paid out of the stipend? I don't recall having seen that at the board meeting, approving the,
this
Re-up.
is right out of the general fund.
so we've been
Yeah,
approving
we
that?
pay for this.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yes, go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's great. I appreciate you playing point on that. Obviously, they're going to call you, not us, right? So, but it's great that you, I think, once we decide how we want to handle it, I do think it would be valuable to meet with them too and try to compare what the, what the different softwares have to offer. I have never seen any of them, so it's all going to be new to me, but
Right.
I certainly think there would be value in that.
Okay.
Do you,
Bringing them into
the rest of you
committee.
think that,
I'd love to see a little presentation in committee.
Yeah, I definitely would think this would be the venue to do it.
yeah,
And even if we had to have a short meeting, I know we want to watch 3 in one night, but depending on how long, find out how long the presentation is. They all have said if they had just a snapshot database in an Excel file with number of students at each address, at their respective addresses, and where do you want them dropped off and picked up, and at what time type information. And
right. So essentially the data we already have provided to bus tracks, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
They all,
Yeah, that gets rolled over
it's
from
a
our
fairly
student
standard
data.
format
Yes.
file
Yep.
probably. And
Yep. But I just throw all this out there as part of this management concept to determine how you want to, and you could certainly put in the RFP both ways, with or without the clerk being an employee of the successful contract. But at the same time, the district should have the right to say, we like this software better than that software, because it should be, at least in a read-only format at the district level, so we can monitor it and know exactly what's going on. So,
I might be able to, if you send me the PDF of the contract, I might be able to convert it.
we tried.
I might be able to.
Okay.
I have pretty high
So-
confidence in my skills to convert.
Scott Matz was confident that he was going to get it done. Didn't happen.
Well, then when I defeat him, I'm gonna.
So,
you're going to let them
and I
know?
called him, I said, Scott, there's got to be a way.
Exactly.
I'm getting annoyed here, and he said, sorry. So then, when we reached out to Fox Rothschild, and we had part of it, we had a file number that's on the bottom of the pages there. And, well, then she finally came forward with the contract from 2003. I said, well, that really doesn't help. I want the 2008 version. But they keep everything in PDF, and she is a self-proclaimed expert on conversion.
There's
And
a lot of us out there.
so you've got a lot of competition, Connor.
So do you have the vendors in, software vendors in by the time we put this out for the pre-bid meeting on May 19th? Should that decision have been made?
I'd like to get on that right away. I'd just like to get it done and review it, and then it's done, and we can move forward.
I
I don't
agree.
want to wait till down in the summer or something.
I'm just wondering how's the tie-in to making a decision with the software vendors that would.
I
seem-
think, I'd like to have it so that when I release this RFP in June, we've pretty much said this is the
They know the
software
way.
we're
Right,
going
we
to
already
use.
know.
So do you want to try to bring them all in next
Yes.
month or something?
Yes, yeah, I'll
I think
contact
that's a
them
great
tomorrow.
idea. 20 minutes each? 15, 20-minute
We
presentation?
can do it.
Yep, I think that'd be great.
I think that would be great.
The one is from Schenectady, New York, but he's eager to be here, so.
Good. Yeah, I mean, we could Skype them or something, too.
No, he wants to come in.
Sounds great.
And he may be in the area for,
Yep.
having been at Hershey with Asbo, he may have other sales calls too.
Thank you.
Okay.
That'd be great. We'll do
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great.
We'll jump on that. And I also included, it's in the contract too, the job description that was put in place as an attachment for the transportation clerk when that happened. And the other piece is your current contract calls for the bus lot, terminal, maintenance facility being within 5 miles of the boundaries of the district. I would think that certainly is, depending on what you get for responses, you would want to maintain that. It's your call, but you're definitely going to want to make sure you've got your spare buses,
And say that again, within 5 miles of the boundaries?
boundaries of the
So
district.
not within, would be
It says within 5 miles of, the current contract speaks to within 5 miles of the boundaries.
Is that fairly standard based on your experience?
Yeah.
On your previous
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah.
It's fairly standard?
Yeah, if a 5-mile run from a terminal to someplace in your district, depending on the size of your district, we have 40 square miles roughly here, but 5 miles from any boundary would be a relatively, right now, you've got within the district.
Right.
Inside the boundaries. So
Inside the- yep,
you've
exactly.
got plenty of access to spare buses.
Yep.
Okay, fuel purchase responsibility. That's right out of the contract with the way that the fuel is purchased. If you, that's what's spoken of specifically there is the diesel fuel. Each of your current contractors has a on-site tank at their terminal. And when the district bids and buys the fuel, and when it's delivered, it's split, I think 50-50 usually, isn't it, gentlemen? When the delivery comes, but it's split anyway at each location, and you see the language there as it relates to the control factor of the fuel if they use their vehicles or their equipment for third party, what needs to happen. And on the very last page of your contract, you will see an attachment that speaks to the any vehicle that doesn't use diesel fuel. We currently are, by contract, required to provide a gas charge card for that vehicle. So those cards are assigned on the contract itself. It should be the last page, I hope, if I copied it right. Normally, that's where it comes out. Is it there?
Fuel purchase responsibility?
It's the page, I'm sorry, it's the page just ahead of the first attachment, maybe? There should be a page there that speaks to the gas cards are provided. Let me back up. Okay, page 19, 20 is an attachment. Page 21. Attachment C. Each contractor will be issued a gas credit card from the district to purchase gasoline for vehicles that use gasoline instead of diesel, such as vans. So that
Thanks, Rich.
That page, in addition to paragraph 12, speaks to the fuel purchase. So the decision is, how do you want to handle fuel purchases in your RFP? Do you want it to be a part of the contract daily rate provided by the contractor? Or do you want to purchase it? Obviously, I'm sure the argument probably was that the district would have some semblance of control over the price if they bulk purchased, and there was a time when we were all dealing with fuel escalation clauses and addendums to contracts because fuel was spiking and contractors that were buying their own fuel were taking the hit. So something that's got to be talked through and thought through as to which direction you want to go as it relates to the fuel. Yes.
Are we, at this meeting, are we going to talk about the issues, or do you just want to get through the RFP
I
first?
just want to hit them all tonight. I'd like to come back next month after you've had a chance to look at the contract in further depth.
Yep.
And my high points, and say, okay, now we got to settle down. And in the meantime, I'll get the software in here as well.
Very good.
But no, I'm not expecting any decisions tonight. I just want to hit the high points.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay?
Yep.
Age of equipment. What I did here was pulled from the most recent addendum, and I think maybe Mr. Potts was in place when this one came into play with the 14-year clause in it.
We went from 12 to 14.
Right. So he could certainly speak to that. What I did on the next page, I did a little spreadsheet based on the formula, just so you can see the impact on your subsidy receipts. It's labeled Daniel Boone Area School Age of Bus Comparison. What I did last month, I shared with you how the subsidy works as it relates to age of bus, the 4 categories, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 to 10, and 11 and beyond. What I tried to do here was compare in those categories a bus of the same size, 72 passenger manufactured capacity, and I assigned 50 utilized passengers, UPCM, 50 passengers rostered per day, and 75 daily miles, which is the break point on the contract currently. And you can see, if you move over to the maximum annual subsidy per PDE column, the numbers in that column are the maximum per the state formula that you could be paid with buses of that type. In other words, 2000, if you go to the far left, if it's got a year of manufacture, 2013 is the 3-year-old bus as far as PDE is concerned. So it falls in that first category. So I had a bus in each category, and it shows the maximum subsidy that you could be paid. And the next column, the subsidy received column, I took based on the Form 2576 from PDE, the most recent one we had, when you get through with all the market value wage ratio and a half a mil and all the impacts that come into play. I said, okay, you're getting roughly 75% in subsidy against what is the maximum that the state says you could get. So you can see where the numbers would be. Then I compared to your current contract, if you had those same buses based on your daily rate for the 15-16 year, the amount that you would pay out for 180 days of service at your daily rates, okay? And you can see the differential of where you, from what you would receive at 75% against what you paid out. Okay?
Yep.
Now, then moving down below those 4 categories, I pulled 2 buses from each of the contractors. And in that case, both of those buses are 30 passenger manufactured capacity rather than 72. Okay? And I ran the numbers out because your current contract calls for a daily rate the same for the micro buses as the full-size buses. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you can see the difference there. And I did that just so you can, for comparative purposes, when you're deciding what the maximum age of bus is that you want to allow, you can see what a newer bus would do as it relates to subsidy received. Okay?
So Lauren, in the 1 to 3-year-old contract, in the 1 to 3-year-old bus row,
Yes.
the rightmost number, the negative 6502, which is the part that is not covered by the subsidy, right? That's the
Right.
That number is based on 180 days of service. Is that what you said?
Yes. I multiplied the 207.92 daily rate
So, okay.
times 180 days, assuming that the bus is being used, and the amount paid to the contractor would be the $37,425.60.
Right.
And the 75% subsidy received would be $30,860. Now,
Right. So it's $600 per bus.
well, it's
$600 per bus from over the course of 180 days, from 1 to 3 to 4 to 6.
but there's another piece that I didn't put in this spreadsheet, and that is the amount paid to contractor is just for the bus. That doesn't include what you paid for the fuel.
Right. Right.
And trying to identify per bus, I haven't really dug into the gas cards yet to get a good idea of how much has been, because you've got other district vehicles that are paid
Yep.
on that same bill. Right now, we're averaging in the last couple of years about $250,000 a year in diesel fuel
Okay.
in cost. Now, when we submit our amount paid to contractors every September to Harrisburg to drive out our subsidy, we we take the amount paid to the contractors plus the amount paid for the fuel, and it all goes in together. But I just show you that. So the difference against the subsidy received, because the subsidy received number is per the state formula, and that includes all costs, including fuel. So the differential is actually larger than that, but it's tough to identify it.
Yep.
But what I was trying to show here is just the impact on age of bus, age
Right.
of equipment as you move down through.
Well, and how many, roughly how many buses do we have?
We got 50, how many we have total between the two of you? I've got it here.
About 60 total.
I was going to say 57, but that's
Okay.
okay. We'll go with 60.
Thank you.
Lauren, under the fifth row down, line 38,
Yes,
why is
okay, go
that
ahead.
daily rate
Okay.
so much of an anomaly compared to the others?
What that is what we talked about last year. That one happens to be one of the buses that is used for midday kindergarten.
Okay, that's the double.
And what they're doing is using half the daily rate for that midday run. So the 311.88 number is the
1.5 times the daily rate.
Any other questions on, am I making myself clear in what I'm trying to show here?
Yep.
Okay, that's age of equipment. Okay, the next point, audio video devices. Currently, and I believe that the only place I can find it, I didn't see it in any addendums unless I missed it. Contractors are required to install video cameras on the buses, so they're all capable of having video. It's worded here, maintain 3 video cameras. Any vehicle placed in service for district would require such an installation, so that the capability is there to video.
Right.
Is that correct?
We have more than, we each have more than 3.
Okay. But that's the most recent, there weren't any changes, because question came up just this week with one of the networks is showing the drive-bys. You don't have any cameras on cross arms or stop arms. They're all internal, correct?
Well, mine, I have the Roscoe camera, it has a camera that shoots out the front of the bus.
Right, but
So-
it's inside the bus. You don't have any of them that are actually out on the arm.
No, all on the side, no.
Great. I think that was what the filming that came through with that video, I think that was from the stop arm.
Yeah,
Because they were, it was pretty, it definitely wasn't being shot from inside the bus.
No, it showed somebody running the rails.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the purpose of those stop arm cameras is,
Not in our district we're talking about?
Yeah, no, we don't
no,
have.
no, no, no,
we
no. This
don't-
was on
we don't
one of the
have them
major
here.
networks.
Oh,
So, question is, moving forward with the RFP, what requirements do you want to put in place? Have any idea how many drive-bys you have?
Too many. Too many, and we can't convict enough.
Okay. All right, so that's that one. The last point is the issue that we discussed last fall, and that is determining what you want to put in the RFP for requirements for first aid training and EpiPen training. Act 195 provides that EpiPen training is a part of first aid training. So as you move forward with an RFP, now's the time to make a determination. It obviously has an impact on the cost of the contractor to make sure that the drivers are trained for this. So, something else too. And I can forward to you, Rob Hurley got right in the middle of this, along with Mike Miller. We've got a lot of detail, and I think you probably all have it too, because you responded with what your insurance companies were telling us and all the rest, but as we move forward now, if this is something the district wants to make a part of the RFP and make a part of the contract, now's the time to do it. Because we have had situations where we needed to have someone on the bus, and I believe we still have an aide on one of the buses, do we not? Or maybe the students no longer, we did in the fall, we were running a bus aide for the sole purpose of,
I have a couple of aides on now, I'm not sure why they're there. If they're there for
I think-
just the EpiPen, or if they're
right,
because of behavior, or...
understand. I think Rob told me that the EpiPen situation is still in place.
The current contract doesn't have any first aid requirements, right?
Don't believe, I didn't.
I mean, I read the contract in
current contract
my
doesn't speak to
recollection.
first aid, at least I didn't see it.
Okay, I mean, like I said, I
Do
read
you
it too.
require CPR training for your driver?
Not CPR, first aid, just what's included in
CDL?
Pennsylvania School Bus Drivers Training.
Okay. Okay. Questions?
Can I explain something to Carol? Well, to everybody that may not know. When Steve said there were drive-bys and too few convictions, you have to understand, especially if a car ignores the reds coming at you. The bus driver is now trying to read the license plate and get the make and model of the car in the mirror. At the same time, watching the kids that are getting on or off the bus. And then if you get all that, and the person can test it, and you go before a local magistrate, they'll ask you the description of the driver. Well, that's hard to get. So unless you have all that information and you can nail it down, basically you lose.
What I'm told is a rear camera really addresses that. Rear cameras on the bus to document the cars that's going away.
Well, didn't you see this video I sent?
No, I didn't see it.
Check your email.
Did they do that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think these stop arm cameras, don't they do both directions?
Yeah, they do both directions.
So they see him
A lot
coming
of
and they see him
different- a lot of
going.
different options.
Pardon?
There's a
Yeah.
lot of different options.
And that was what I think filmed the guy going up the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. Scott, are you on email yet? On our email? Yeah? Because I looked for you the other day and you weren't on. I haven't
Yeah,
listened.
no, I was in the same room. Did you get mine?
I did.
Okay, which I made it though.
Yeah, I noticed.
Don't confuse the Scott and the Potts.
Yeah,
I'm trying to throw guys.
listen correctly.
That was great.
My wife, Mr. Scott. I'm in trouble. But
But the future Mrs. Kurtz was here last night.
Mrs. Bites had an interesting time calling roll.
But, obviously, there is a lot of systems, systems, I should say, but obviously that all comes with a cost.
That's right.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I think when these cameras were rolled out, I also checked with Wilson. I did give some stuff to Ms. Torsch at the time. It's also a recording time, how much you want to retain, and that all comes with a cost too. So you can put all sorts of cameras on these buses. It's a matter of what's going to drive the contract up.
Right.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
great for safety, but
Right, well, agreed that cost is a factor, right? I also was interested in the drive-by numbers. Yeah, I'm not out there every day, right, watching, so I don't ever do it. And I don't see people do it, but that obviously doesn't mean it's not happening, right? I'm not out there. So I have no doubt that it's happening. I just wish we had some actual data to use as opposed to just,
I think the original intent of the cameras, because technology wasn't there, was for behavioral issues in the bus.
Yes.
Trying to get an idea of who was cutting the seats and who was hitting the student next to them. And now with technology the way it is, you can get some high-resolution cameras that can do some nice outside work for you.
yeah. All right, so those are all the high points that you wanted to touch on
Those were the high
with
points
regard to the contract?
as I work through it. If
Okay.
you have others, you can dig into, but if you have questions, meet back again in April, I presume, and begin to fine tune this. I think there's a lot in the contract that is boilerplate, that some of it we may be able to pull aside, but
I think we could go down the cost breakdown of the daily runs.
the spreadsheet?
I think she means the contract page, but
Worksheet.
On the worksheets? Yeah, I was going to speak to that.
Daily rate,
Yeah.
how's that all
Well,
calculated? Is that something we're getting from the,
yes, and I left this as a daily rate, as your contract now is, with the excess mileage rate and any minimum trip rates and whatnot. This can all be changed too. This is,
already in this contract, all
no,
these rates?
no.
What's the
Well,
layover rate
it
on
is
this?
to an extent. If you look at page 18 of the contract, you have your rates, the original rates, and they've all moved forward with the CPI from December prior, which, by the way, last December went south on you. So,
What's the layover rate? Is that an hourly rate that the bus driver's sitting waiting?
right, if you go to a basketball game, you want to
It's only
explain
on
that?
the activity trips, while the vehicle and driver are at the destination.
And there,
How's that being paid right now? It's not in the contract.
well,
Is that in
it
here?
is in here. Your hourly rates on your page 18 are your layover rates, correct?
Yes.
That's what I find in the billings, yeah. And there are situations where PDE will, if you have a daily run with a student, it's a distance, and it's cheaper to lay over than to make 4 trips, you can send a letter to PDE and say, this bus number is going to have layover on it when it appears on the 1049 in October or September, and they'll approve or deny. But we're not currently doing any daily layover that I'm aware of. But this is for, like Wayne says, for any of your extracurricular type stuff where
So
the
if they
bus.
take a field trip to Washington DC?
Yes.
And they drop the kids off, then they go wait at the bus depot?
Right. Yeah, these charts are very similar, except they're,
What are the 3 columns on the contract 18? There's 3 different rates. And I don't see a column header. So I got,
on here?
On the
Yeah,
contract.
On the current contract, yeah. What this is the 3 years.
yeah.
And
Oh, the
then
first
moving-
3 years?
Yep, and then
Oh,
moving
okay.
forward, that's your first 3 years, and then moving forward, if you go in the addendums, you see the adjustments that are made based on the CPI. Yeah, that took me
So what are we
2
up to about for
daily rate?
the layover?
Well, it's
The
all,
hourly rate.
everything is impacted by the CPI, so I'd have to pull an invoice.
Just roughly, what are we paying per hour for?
Who's
labor?
doing the most layovers? You?
So it's around 18.
I gotta pull an invoice. Yeah, I'd say it's 17 something. Okay, hours. $5.50. It's tough to
spreadsheet or
We can get it another
phone.
time.
Yeah, I can get that all broken down for you. The way this appears on here, I was just going through it the other day and I did some, I think it's around 17, 18. But I'll,
It hasn't gone up much since 2010, maybe, because 2010 it was 1754.
oh, yeah.
Hourly rate? Hourly labor rate?
The dollars involved there would be much less than the daily run. But I'll get that for you. I'll break it all up.
Well, thank you.
What's in this year?
Okay. Committees or, I mean, gentlemen, if there's anything that, if you want to speak, that's fine. If the committee has any more questions for Lauren about, our homework, so to speak, looking through this, making sure we know what we want to be in there.
Fire me off emails. I'm just digging through this with other RFPs that I'm working on.
I want to ask Wayne and Steve a question, just out of curiosity. You guys don't know, the state talks about safety. They talk about safety. And for years, they talked about putting seatbelts on buses, which the driver would never be able to ensure compliance because you can't see all the kids.
Sure.
So instead, the last I heard, and I haven't driven a bus in 4 years, the last I heard, they were making the back seat backs all higher. Is that still the case?
Yes, they are.
That's supposed to be a safety feature now. So what year did that start?
Well, that's been 10 years.
They've done it a couple of times, actually. Keep increasing the height, which, I think that it probably does make it a little bit safer. Certainly doesn't help things with discipline.
I was going to say,
The driver
behavioral
the driver
issues.
can't see the younger
What's
kids.
going on,
You
sure.
don't know what they're doing.
And
That's-
the driver can't see it and the cameras can't see it.
And that's when the pencils go in the seat cushions. Or worse.
I was gonna say, if that was the worst thing, it wouldn't be that bad.
But, this year they came back once again with Transportation Safety Board or someone saying, oh, gotta put in seatbelts. But then when you see the numbers for equipping, how many school buses are there in the nation?
A lot.
Well, not only
It's
the
going to happen
cost,
sooner or
but-
later. Motor coaches, it does go into effect, I think, next year sometime, that all new motor coaches are required to have seatbelts. So it's bound to happen.
Is that 49 seats to a coach?
56.
56?
But for school buses, you'd add an hour to your trip for the driver to have to walk up and down the aisle to make sure they had them on.
And the other
they wouldn't stay
piece
on.
is, and the other
Yeah, they
piece
would
is
stay
when,
on.
when you do have a rollover and they're hanging from their seatbelt, now the driver's got to get in there with a box cutter and slice those belts to release the kids so they can get out through the hatches.
There was a rollover accident, maybe 5 years ago, from a school district in Berks County, and they were high school students. The bus rolled over on its side. The driver had her seatbelt on. One of the students, they were high school students, one of the students was a junior fireman, who had to go up and cut her out of her seat. Now, that was one person. And don't even think about a fire on a bus. That would,
Exactly. And of
So-
course, any of your handicap vehicles where you're using
A lift.
stabilization system, you've got to have the letter opener, I call
yeah,
it,
yeah.
up there by the window so
Yeah.
that somebody emergency can get hold of that and slice those belts.
So obviously, I'm not a proponent of them, but I think it's going to happen sometime.
Compartmentalized transportation has proven itself for a long time.
It has.
And we don't like the height of the backrest, but the fact of the matter is, it works.
It works.
And when you go on a rollover, all they've got to do is scoot to the side and kick open a roof hatch, and out they go.
Yeah.
They're on their own.
I guess if the committee is finished reviewing the paperwork, I would ask if there is any chance that you would be interested in negotiating with us for an extension or a revision of our current contract, or if the RFP is definitely what you're trying to do.
I think at this point, the committee is pretty committed to going through with the RFP process. That obviously has nothing to do with you guys personally or the service that you provided to the district. But financially, it just seems to be the the best approach for us at this time. Does anybody feel differently?
No.
Currently, I'm working on 3 RFPs, and that doesn't include the custodial maintenance that has been out in the papers. So
Yeah. So, I mean, at this point, we feel like,
First looks.
yeah, certainly this contract in particular, I think, has been neglected relative to bunch of other contracts that are on the books. That's no fault of yours or anyone sitting here. That's just the way that things have played out. But yeah, given the financial situation that the district is in, we feel like taking a hard look at this and finding out just what sort of savings there are by putting multiple processes out to bid competitively is what the board is.
I'd just like to state, our main concern is we've seen this happen numerous times where usually larger companies, although sometimes not larger companies, in a situation like this, sometimes will come in with a low quote, basically just to get an existing contractor out. And if that would happen to us, I mean, we wouldn't be coming back. So be aware of that somebody else comes in at a lower rate. When that contract expires, if it's not us, we're not going to be around. You're not going to be able to come back to us. You're going to have to go out with somebody else.
Right. Well, that makes sense, and I appreciate you reinforcing that.
That's a good reason to keep a long term. It's not for the contract not be a 1-year contract where they can lowball,
Yeah.
drive out all other competitors, and then come in with a multi-million-dollar.
this is one reason that
So that's a good point.
As
So
I
they're going to be
mentioned-
committed.
Well, I
right?
mentioned in the last committee meeting, obviously, whatever contractor would hopefully not come in is obviously that boundary lines is going to be the facility. I can't imagine someone is going to give us a lowball contract, push these poor contractors out that have a long-term standing relationship with the district, and going to hold that they'd have to hold it for several years
Yeah.
to be able to pay
Just
for,
logistics.
you got a school bus that's $85,000 a year. Where are these local contractors, if they're local, going to pull their buses from to bring into this district? And then be able to recoup that. They're going to, obviously, everyone's in it to make money.
Yeah.
So would you want to make an investment of several $1 million and then take,
We shall see.
5 years, 10 years? Not to mention buying property in this area. That's the only thing I asked the committee to search hard.
And if I may add, both Wayne and I are both third-generation contractors for this school district. We're in this district, our families are in this district for well over 60 years, probably 70 years as contractors. So I'd like to take that into consideration also.
Well, we do look forward to your response to the RFP, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely will.
Thank you. Anything else?
Anybody?
I was able to successfully convert the contract.
and that's what the last guy told
It's
me.
not the greatest. I mean, there's a lot, if you want
Lost
to
the
copy and paste
formatting.
pieces out, you can, but it's not
That's-
readable. It's not scripted.
Exactly, that's what happened.
Um,
And that's when
If you don't have anything else, can I bring up a discussion?
It's not-
District vehicles. Mr. Martino, we were working on it, and we were going to work on the policy for district vehicles in the policy committee. Is that something we should be discussing in transportation? I think Mr. Wolf said I should talk to you about the concerns. No, that was Mr. Wolf. Do we need to talk about that? As
I'm
far
not
as
sure
how,
What you're getting at.
vans, when they use, who should be using vans?
facilities committee should be, because that's
Is that-
managed by the facilities director. The management of the vehicles, the maintenance of the
Okay,
vehicles, the
okay,
scheduling.
district-owned vehicles would
Schedule.
not